Hello, Tigers, and welcome to the 29th episode of Short Stories and Poems. I'm your host, Mr. Yearn to succeed and follow your dreams. Now, on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about 10 things people do to self-sabotage themselves. Well, what is self-sabotaging? Stay tuned. So today, we're going to be talking about 10 things people do to self-sabotage themselves. But as said before, what is self-sabotaging? Now, self-sabotaging is the behavior which creates a problem in your life and interferes with long-standing goals. Now, those long-standing goals can be both short-term goals and long-term goals. But it's things that we put in our mind or habits that become behavioral that stop us from reaching our greatest potential. Let's go through the 10, shall we? Number 1, we have overthinking. Number 2, we have living in fear. Number 3, we have living in the past. Number 4, we have procrastination. Number 5, we have perfectionism. Number 6, we have self-medication. 7, we have staying around toxic people. 8, negative thinking / self-talk. Number 9, not saving for a rainy day. And number 10, eating bad and not working out. Now, I'm going to go through all of them briefly, discuss a few things. If you have a pen and paper and you want to write some things down, by all means, go ahead. If you have an iPhone or Droid, whichever your heart fancies, and you want to take down some notes, go ahead as well. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Let's just jump right into it. So, for number 1, we have overthinking. And overthinking is when our mind creates fear. It's when we constantly put negative thoughts into our mind and then it goes through a spiral, a downward spiral, that is. 2, living in fear. Now, fear being defined equals false, evidently apparent real. Now, what does that mean? It's a false statement or false thought, negative, that we put in our mind that's apparent real to us. For an example, rejection. Like for a guy or girl, if they're afraid of talking to people, such as public speaking or just talking to somebody, right? Mostly this will come into men when they're trying to approach women. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of being turned down. How do we solve this fear? Open the door and walk through it. What do I mean? All right, so you have fear. As we talk about rejection, you have rejection at number 1, and then we have being accepted at number 10, right? You have to find your balance, coming to the balance. So you have to try a lot. So for that one example I said before of the guy talking to females, number 1, rejection. Number 10, being accepted. The more times you put yourself out there, right? And the more times you get rejected, is the more times you're going to be comfortable with getting rejected. You're going to work on new strategies. You're going to work on new approaches. You're going to work on new ways to get the number as it relates to being rejected. And then once you do not get rejected, you conquer that fear. And then once you conquer that fear, your brain subconsciously can program new habits. And then you can analyze those habits to be successful. So you will have better approaches. You will have better strategies of how you can talk to females. So the best way to deal with fear is to approach it. That's it. Like if you're afraid of heights, the way to approach it would be to ride an airplane, go on a roller coaster, go on a hot air balloon, go on a rooftop. These are things that you can do to overcome that fear. And the more time you do it will be the more times you'll get comfortable. Number 3, we have living in the past. Now, a lot of times we live in the past because we are still living in fear of moving forward. And like number 1, we overthink these memories that we have created in our mind about the past, whether there are relationships, whether they're from a member of our family who is no longer with us, whether it's a job or a certain highlight that we had in our life. We create this thought, we create this thing in our mind, that makes us want to stay in the past for so long. And I'm going to illustrate a perfect example of what it looks like to live in the past. For those of you who drive, right? Or even, I'm going to go with those who drive first, and then I'm going to go with riding a bike or skateboarding, right? So let's say you're driving on the highway. You're trying to get from destination A to destination B. You have the windshield and you have the rear. Living in the past will be looking at the rear view and trying to get to your location. That's what living in the past is. Looking in the rear view, not focusing on the windshield, which is what's ahead of you, and trying to get to your destination. For those of you who do not drive, let's apply the same analogy to riding a bike, skateboarding, rollerblading, etc. It's like trying to get from destination A to destination B, but you're trying to do it backwards. Like your head is turned backwards and you're trying to move forward. You do not know what's ahead of you. And living in the past stops us from obtaining our greatest potential because all of these are negative. Living in the past means you have a fear moving forward, which also means you're overthinking all the good times, trying to repeat it in the future. Number 4, we have procrastination, waiting until the last minute. Everybody knows what procrastination is. I do not have to define this for you. We all know it. We've all been victims of this at some point in our life or not. I'm going to do the perfect example of procrastination. And we all can laugh because we all been here. You ever been in school and you had a project due on Monday and you waited till Sunday night or Monday morning to get this project done? Whether it was a group project, a paper, studying for a test. That is the definition of procrastination. Waiting until the last minute to get something done. Thinking that you have so much time in the world and you're going to put it off. Now, procrastination is for lazy people, and you might not think that you're a lazy person, but subconsciously the habit is associated with being lazy. Now, why this is self-sabotaging? Because it hinders us from getting more things done. And it kind of goes with everything we just talked about. We have to be in action to get things done. That's how society moves. It has to be in action. There's an I in the middle of action for something. So I'm going to stop right there with procrastination. Procrastination is a killer and it hinders you from achieving your goals and your dreams. So don't be a procrastinator. Number 5, perfectionism. Waiting until the right time. Now, a lot of people might think that this is associated with number 4, procrastination, but it's not. It's a trait that you put in your mind, similar to living in fear. You put this, similar to overthinking. You put this negative concept in your mind and you think that you have time. Now, time might be our only luxury, but you don't have time because you never know when your time is up. You never know when the universe, God, higher power is going to call you. So we do not have time. We think that we have so much time on this earth, but we don't. You ever look at your age, when you're about to celebrate a birthday or when a new year comes and you say, dang, this year went by so fast. Oh, dang, I can't believe I'm this age. Yes, that's the right example. That's the right example of how we do not have time. So stop waiting for the right time. Perfectionism. Nothing is perfect on this earth, man. Nothing is perfect, right? Look at people who play sports. Look at people who, do music and do albums. Look at artists. Look at chefs. We all try to be perfectionists to try to create that one thing. But there's always room to improve. There's always ways to get better. And I think with that concept in our minds, we will get more things done and we will stop waiting for the right time, because let me give you another example. Suppose you are waiting for the right time. What happens when the right time never comes? Then what? What happens when you're planning out something and you're saying that I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait till September. And then September comes and something tragic happens, God forbid. Then what? Then what are you going to do? So don't put it off. Get it done. Which kind of goes with the number 4. Don't wait until the last minute. Have a time frame. Execute on that time frame. And keep on moving to your next goal, the next thing that you want to accomplish. Number 6, self-medication. Now, self-medication, this goes with drugs, alcohol, cutting yourself, and etc. I know that the world can be a heavy place. And I say heavy lightly. I know this world could be a heavy place. Certain things we try to do to medicate ourselves, to help us with the process of whatever we're dealing with, our adversities, right? But please do not make it an extreme. Taking drugs, well, I don't recommend doing drugs. That's just my personal opinion. I don't recommend doing drugs. Alcohol, if you choose to do so, then you do so. Other self-medication, things that people might do, like cutting themselves, definitely not good. If you're at this point in your life, please seek a counselor. Please seek therapy. Please seek help. There's nothing wrong with admitting you have a problem. And it's definitely nothing wrong with seeking therapy or talking with somebody so they can help you, right? We have this big stigma about seeking help, and we as a society have to be honest with ourselves. We have to hold the mirror in front of our face and say, I have a problem. I need to seek this help to solve this problem. So let's leave it like that right now for self-medication, all right? So number 7, I have staying around toxic people. And this is huge because toxic people only make you toxic. I know a lot of mothers can agree with this example. You ever stayed around your child who is sick and then you became sick because your child was sick? This is the same thing. It's the same analogy with staying around toxic people. And this could happen in your relationships that you're in. This could happen with your friendships that you're in. This could also happen in your work environment. People who are toxic, people who talk negative all the time, people who gossip, people who complain, people who do not know how to take a joke and laugh, people who talk about you behind your back. These are toxic people, people who abuse you. Sometimes you're around toxic people so much and so long that you don't realize that they're toxic for you. You don't realize, that these people do not wish you well. Because if they did, these situations will not occur. They would not keep happening. Toxic people are dangerous. And by all means, you must stay away from them. That's why the saying is popular, have a small circle. And be careful who you surround yourself with. Right? Stay away from toxic people. Do not get sick. All right? Use the mother analogy and apply it to a situation that you might be going through. Which kind of goes into number 8, in a sense. Negative thinking, self-talk. Right. Now, negative thinking could kind of go with staying around toxic people because toxic people talk negative. But it also goes with number 1, overthinking. Negative talk. What do you say about yourself? Now, subconsciously, we move through life so much and so fast that we forget what we say about ourselves. If you ever say the word can't, will not possible, that's kind of a negative thinking. That's negative self-talk. When you say, I'm not worthy, I'm not beautiful, I cannot achieve this, I don't like my skin color, I'm too fat, I'm too dark, I don't have big boobs, I don't have these abs. I don't have these muscles. All of these are negative thinking. Where do they come from? They come from society. Society has projected an image of what they feel as though a human should stand by or a human should look like, which is false. At times we need to accept the way that we are, but work towards becoming the best versions of ourselves. And as we're working towards becoming the best versions of ourselves, we have to eliminate those words which are going to hold us back, which are those negative words. Each and every single one of you who are listening to this knows the kind of things that you say. You know the things, you know the words when you look in the mirror, when you fresh out the shower, when you're waking up in the morning to start the day, when you're at work, you notice these things happening. All right? Control them. Shut it off right there. As soon as you start to think negative or you begin to say negative self-talk about yourself, recounter it with a positive and say 3 more positive things about yourself. So if you say to yourself, you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you're having a bad day, you say, I am ugly. If that's the first thought in your head, change it. I am beautiful. I am respected. I am high value. Counter it. All right? So it's going to go into number 9, not saving for a rainy day. Now, this is primarily relating to finances and having enough to help yourself through any situation that you might be going through. Now, I personally am not a millionaire yet. I don't want to, there goes that negative thinking. I'm not a millionaire yet. I had to make it positive, so I don't have enough money saved for a rainy day, but I am saving, and I encourage you all to do the same. It's hard because right now I'm working at a job where it's paycheck to paycheck, and many of you who are listening to this might be doing the same thing. And it's just like, how do I save when I have rent, I have to do groceries, can't forget about the Metro card, and the price just went up, and I have to get a weekly or monthly, and you have cell phone bill, you got to get a haircut or do your nails, do your hair, and then you have to treat yourself. So all these things come into a total. All these come into a total when you're working on your finances. Now, I'm going to repeat something that I saw on Instagram. I just started following this entrepreneur, this pioneer woman, this woman of God. Her name is Dana Chanel. I hope I'm saying this right. And she posted something that said, do you have enough money to afford your mother's funeral? God forbid. And I listened to her speak, and it blew me away. It's like, do we have that amount of money, for a rainy day, And it's inspiring to make you want to get there, to want to achieve that goal so you can have enough. These are for times where we need to listen, that we can't overthink and we can't live in this fear of having it all. In the Lord's prayers for those who are spiritual, it says heaven on earth. And these things are obtainable if we only believe. So for those who are listening, who are dealing with this paycheck to paycheck, just please try to set something aside. If you get like $300 or $400 a week, please make sure you put $50 or even $100 aside, and start building like that. If you're working on a business, make sure you're putting the money to the business. If you want to learn about investments, go to a library, go to Barnes and Nobles and just read. I'm pretty sure they have some for dummy books, or look at YouTube for investments and saving so you can double on that money, because at the end of the day, even if you were to go, you'll want something left behind for your family members left over if you choose so, or your children if you have them. So save for a rainy day. Number 10, last but not least, eating bad and not working out. Now, self-sabotaging, with all of this being said, I end on eating bad and not working out because the body's a temple. Now, I know some people who are listening to this might say, well, I know people who are healthy and did everything right and they still passed away, they still died young, etc., etc. But you're not them. And you want to make sure that you are eating healthy and your body is regulating in a high pH state of mind, so you can think properly, so you can live life accordingly. Eating bad foods create depression, anxiety, stress you out, sometimes suicide thoughts. They grow agony, and they also grow many diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and etc. Not working out. Now, I know people who do not work out and live a healthy life, but becoming the best version of you requires some working out, So whether you're in the gym or you're doing yoga, that's a form of working out, So make sure that you're spending some time becoming the best version of yourself, not eating bad, putting away the junk food, eating some fruit, putting away the fried food. Make sure that you are drinking that water. You remember in my behind the scenes videos, guys? If you remember the videos that I used to do on Facebook and I put it on the behind the scenes, you'll see that I was into drinking water. Always, always, always drinking water. And I still am, and I hope that this can inspire somebody to just eat healthy and exercise. Even if you're not in a gym, or you can't afford a membership, make sure you're doing your push-ups, make sure you're doing your sit-ups. If you don't like doing that, make sure that you're walking, make sure you're riding a bike, make sure you're getting some form of exercise. And you owe it to yourself. So those are 10 things people do to self-sabotage themselves. Let's go over the list one more time. You have 1, overthinking. You have 2, living in fear. You have 3, living in the past. You have 4, procrastination. You have 5, perfectionism. 6, self-medication. 7, staying around negative people, toxic people rather. 8, negative thinking and self-talk. 9, not saving for a rainy day. And 10, eating bad food and not working out. Thank you guys for listening. Before I exit and make this episode 29 a close, I want the first 5 people to comment on this. If you're listening to this and this has motivated you about self-sabotaging, etc., write down the number that inspired you the most, or the number that you could relate to the most. Can you relate to overthinking? Can you relate to living in fear? Can you relate to self-medication? Can you relate to staying around toxic people? What number relates to you the most? I'm going to have the numbers in the description, and you can comment the numbers that you relate the most. The first 5 people to comment is going to receive a prize. All right? It's going to receive a prize. The first 5 people to comment on this will receive a prize. You heard it first on the Short Stories and Poem podcast. This is Mr. Yearn. I'm signing off for today. Take it easy, Tigers, and enjoy the day. God bless. Agape to all. Peace.